Welcome guys, this is another episode on the gear we like to use. We often do these episodes on just different products that we enjoy, that we use on the trail when we go camping, in and around camp. And today we're going to talk about quite a viable solution for power for off-grid camping. Now, this is the EcoFlow Delta 2, and together paired with the Alternator Charger, it makes a real solution and a real use solution that you can take into your rig and out into the bush. There are a lot of power stations out there, a lot of different ones. They all offer very similar sort of specs and similar sort of deliverables. But I'm going to just talk about a few specs on the Delta 2 and then what makes it different and what sets it apart and why we like it so much. So the Delta 2 has a 1800 watt inverter inside of it. It's got a 1024 watt hour battery and offers all the same sort of functionality you expect out of a power station, with USB-C, normal USB, different plug outlets on the back, as well as your normal cigarette sort of lighter connection as well. It's compact, small, you can pick it up, it's not too heavy. It comes with two nice grab handles each side. It's encased in a very protective casing. You can get a bag for it as well, just to protect it a little bit more. It is also double use. I mean, you can use this in your car, you can use it in your house, you can use it at your office. So it becomes quite a versatile product, and it's a lot easier to justify spending money on these sort of things if you can use them in a lot of other places and not just your car. But I'd like to talk to you about the car use in particular at the moment, because when we're out off-grid and having to use all of the fridges we take along, the freezers, there might be ice makers, there's laptops, there's batteries for cameras, there's, well, kettles, toasters, coffee machine, you name it. You know, if you've got a really good inverter, a good power station, got the battery capacity and a way to put it back in, you can use all of these things off-grid and it's no problem. The hardest thing when it comes to a power station and be able to use it properly for an off-grid solution when you go camping is the fact that you can't put that power back into the power station quick enough. So it works very well to, and it's all good to use the product and use it to run your fridge or run a coffee machine, but as soon as that battery is depleted and starts getting down, you only have two options, and that is, at that point, if you're off-grid, is to use a solar panel and plug that into it. And let's face it, you can only carry so many solar panels, and you know, you're looking at a 240 watt probably that you're carrying around, or most people have. Or you can plug it into the car via a cigarette lighter. Now, the solar panel is not bad because you can probably put 10 amps back into it per hour, but still, that's not very much if you look at the fact that that's going to take this battery quite a while to charge. You know, you're looking at least all day, maybe longer, and if there's clouds or you have a few rainy days, well, what are you going to do then? So either you go and plug it into your car, but when you plug it into your car, it charges at 90 watts. Now that's not the power station's fault, it just comes down to the fact that that's a cigarette lighter, so you're stuck charging at 90 watts. Now you try to charge one of these things with a decent sized battery that makes it viable to be off grid at 90 watts, and you're basically just going to get into a hole where it'll be completely depleted and you're going to be without a power station without a battery. So we've always had to look at other forms of batteries for the vehicles, good DC to DC chargers, so we can charge those things while we drive. And up till this point, there wasn't really much of a solution for that. Well, let me tell you, EcoFlow has brought out the Alternator Charger. This thing can charge at 800 watts while you drive. It plugs into all of their Delta range right on the side here. So if I turn this around, you'll have a look here. It's got a purpose plug for it that picks up exactly, the alternator charger knows exactly what it's charging. So on the alternator charger itself, it comes up in the app and it says that it's plugged into a Delta 2 and it'll charge this thing at 800 watts. Now we've been testing it on this trip and I've used it pretty much to run my freezer the whole time. I even plugged the Starlink into it for a little while, and the thing with the Starlink is it just draws continuously 30-40 watts all the time. So it's not huge, but it's continuously drawing it. So you need to get all that power back in. At 800 watts, this thing charges up within like an hour and a half of driving. Absolutely crazy. It's actually made a power station a viable solution now for overlanding. You can put one of these in your car, you can just secure it nicely, strap it down, plug that alternator charger in, whether it be inside the car or I have a bakkie or pickup, and it can go into the bin. So we have hooked that up. I have obviously been using that the whole trip and I haven't been once without power. This thing charges up so quickly, it's frightening. But have a look at this. So we've turned it on. It's got a very, very fantastic app that they've developed, and that app shows all your devices. So on here I've got my Delta 2, I've got my alternator charger, and I've got my Wave 2, which is an air conditioning, which we'll get to that a little bit later. So you just go into the app like that, very easy. From here you can see the input, the output, you can see the level of the battery. It gives you the time remaining. At the moment I've depleted this down to 20% so that we can show exactly how it works when it's charging. But you know, while it's sitting here charging, there's not much going through it, so it can run for 17 hours at the moment. Just below that you've got your AC outputs, your DC outputs, shows you what's going on, and you're able to turn it on and off remotely. AC, DC, as well as all your USBs. From the setting side of things, this is quite customizable, and again, this is where it just sets it aside from a lot of other products on the market. So this is quite an important one, the AC charging speed. Now, you can optimize the battery and click on optimization, and it's going to charge the battery at 500 watts, which it tells you again that it will be 2 hours till it's fully charged, which is great because at least you can see that. It will also show up on the display at the front. It's in sleep mode now, but there we go. It will show you the same thing. You can go quiet charging, which takes it down right to 200 watts, which means it'll take 5 hours to charge. But let's say it's in a room and you don't want the fans running, because obviously if the higher the wattage, the more heat it's going to generate, and obviously the fans need to come on. So maybe you don't like the fans and you need it to be silent. This will be silent, the fans will not come at all. Have tried it, which is great. Then we've got customized, and you can take this thing right up to 1,200 watts of charge. Now that'll charge this thing from 0 to full in 50 minutes. So let's say you're going out on a drive, or you're going out somewhere, or you just want to leave home and you forgot to charge this thing. You can plug it in, put it at 1,200 watts, 50 minutes going to be completely charged. So that's fantastic, and that's just if you had this on its own. If you've got the alternator charger, you don't have to worry. You just put it in the car, set it at 800 watts, and it'll charge at 800 watts, and by the time you get to your destination, it's probably going to be full. So that's really cool. I leave mine on optimized battery just to help the battery health. 500 watts is more than enough. If I need to bump that up, I can. So that's really great. The car input you can also limit. So let's just say you plug in a cigarette lighter, you can set that at 8 amps as not to blow the fuse. Let's say you're going to plug it into something else that only has a 8 amp fuse or even a 6 amp fuse. You can choose to charge from the car at 6 amps or 4 amps. So again, just a nice way to customize it. Then we've got a X boost, which if put on will boost the output of the whole device. So again, just giving you that little bit extra, you know, giving you the ability to customize these settings and just change them at your will. You can turn the screen on and off. There's a whole lot of things here. I'm not going to go into absolutely everything. You've got AC timeout. That's quite a big one, because a lot of the time these people use these things as a bit of a UPS function. So they run the power in, they run power into it and run a device off of it with the AC plugged in and on. And when there's a power outage, it obviously takes over and carries on running. But a lot of devices, because there's no draw, like if the TV is off or something like that, for example, if you're using like that, it'll just turn off. There's no way to turn it back on. This you can set at 24 hours as a timeout, or you can just say never. So it goes all the way down to 30 minutes if you want, which is really great. It also, which I think is quite nice, has the ability to do its firmware updates. So you benefit from all of the changes that EcoFlow are doing. Future compatibility with devices like the Alternator Charger, with other batteries they might bring out. You can pair this with a battery unit that looks the same as this, drops onto the top, plug it in via its DC port, double the amount of watt hours that you have for the battery, which is fantastic. So right, so let's just have a look at this. We're going to put it to a little bit of a test. So I've brought a kettle out, and we get to plug the kettle in and turn it on, and I'm going to just show you on the app here exactly what's going on. The screen's a little bit hard to see with the camera, but I'll put the app up on the screen now for you. So let's go ahead and turn that on. The machine is on, and I had turned the AC on in advance. So there we go. You can see the output sitting at 1.78 kilowatts, so it's pulling 1,800 watts pretty much. 19%, you can see the flow going out through the AC, and it's running. Kettle's boiled. Absolutely awesome. The fans are running fast. They've turned right down now, and you can see the output's now finished. And obviously from here I can go and just turn the AC off, which is fantastic. So let's have a look at this little scenario. Let's just say you've got this in, and you've got it, maybe you're staying somewhere and there is a kettle or a coffee machine or something like that. You've got it plugged in. This thing is on. You can remotely connect to it via Bluetooth and via Wi-Fi, I might add. This can connect directly to your Wi-Fi and be on the internet, and you can be anywhere and turn this thing on or off or change a setting. So let's just say I've just turned it off on the app now. We turn the kettle on, and then I go ahead and turn the AC on here. So let's just pretend this would be a coffee machine, for example, and you want to get it primed and ready for when you come through to make coffee. There we go, turned on, and the kettle's boiling. I'm obviously having to hold that down because the kettle won't turn on if there's no power, but there we go. It's boiled again, it's turned off, and so is the inverter now gone right down, and the fan's turned off. So really great. Charging cameras via the USB-C. That is 100 watt capable output on that, which is great. So you can plug that directly into your laptop, for example, but I've got my laptop plugged in via the AC outlets. So if I just turn this around, we'll unplug the kettle, just take out the GCs and the ones at the back here. I want to just turn this around and show you that the South African version, because obviously we're in South Africa, in your given country you'll probably have your outlets that are local to you, but we've got two normal plug outlets there, as well as two prong outlets here. We've got our cigarette lighter one at the bottom, as well as two normal jacks there that you could plug lights in and that sort of thing. All individually switched, so you can turn them on and off. And from this side here you've got your input for your solar, as well as your input for your normal 220 connection from home, your shore power. So very nicely put together, very neat, easy to pick up, walk around. It's not a problem. You can just pick it up like this and carry it wherever. On this side here you've got your full control panel with all of your different USB outlets. You've got 4 normal and 2 USB-C. 2 of those are fast charging on the normal USB outlets, 2 normal ones, and then both these USB-Cs are 100 watt. Screen to tell you what's going on, and obviously on and off button. You'll notice on the back here, this is where the Alternator Charger plugs in, which I'm going to show you now. So it's got its own inlet there, can plug into it, and has a nice angle on it so it doesn't get in the way of anything. And you just put that in your car, in the boot, or wherever that alternator charger is going to be located, which will typically be in the boot of your car. For me, it's in the back of my pickup. So let's walk around the corner, and I'll show you the Alternator Charger. Okay, so I've just put the EcoFlow around the back of the car. My Alternator Charger I've mounted in the back of the car here, close to my fridges and all that sort of thing, so that I can run this right in the back here. You might have an SUV, in which case you can just put it in your boot or wherever is going to be most convenient to be able to secure this down while you drive, as well as plug it into various sources. The cable's not very long between the Alternator Charger and where it plugs into the Delta 2, so you don't have too much distance to work with there, and I presume that is just because there's a lot of current coming through there, and the cable that's running in is only so thick, so they want to keep that as short as possible. which makes sense. So this is the port it's going to plug into. It's specifically a EcoFlow port, and that's what you're going to use to charge it, as well as plug into other battery sources and that sort of thing. That all works together and they all recognize each other, which is great. So I'm going to come around that side. Let's plug it in. There's only one way this plug can go in, so quite easy. We'll just push it in like that, straight in. You do need to plug it in before you turn the car on. So what it does is, when the unit is plugged in like that, it powers the DC to DC EcoFlow Alternator Charger, and they can communicate between each other, and also then comes up on the app. So I'm going to go around and quickly start the car. So the car started now, and it should start charging fairly quickly. We're just going to pick up the phone and go into the app now. And what you'll see is, if you give it a minute, there we go. It shows up the Alternator Charger, and it's also still showing the Delta 2, which is correct. All of these are connected together. They all show up in here, either Bluetooth or over Wi-Fi. This is Bluetooth. We're not connected into any Wi-Fi here as such. So if I go into the Alternator Charger, let's give it a second just to refresh itself here. There we go. Straight away it's charging this at 500 watts, which is what I've got it set to at the moment. That's because I've got another DC to DC charger here that does my other battery. So I just wanted to bring that load down on the alternator, because that other charger also charges at 50 amps, which is quite high. So what we can do now is, now there's charging and it's stabilized, if we just go into the settings, we can go to the maximum power output. Just click on that, and you've got a range right the way from 100 to 800 watts of charge. So you can bring that right down and bring it right low if you need to, for whatever reason, or you can stick it at the 500 watt mark, which is kind of, remember I showed you earlier of the wall charging, it's kind of the optimized charge for the battery for battery health. But we just want to get as much charge into this right now as possible. So I'm going to crank that all the way up to 800. Successfully saved. We'll go back one more time. And there we go, you can see it's picked up already. Now it's at 800 watts, there we go. And it gives you a lot of information here. So it'll tell you what charge voltage is coming in from the alternator, 13.5, and it shows you what's going into the Delta 2. A little picture of the Delta 2, it knows exactly what it's plugged into and exactly how to charge that particular power station. It's sitting at 25% now, so it's taking a charge. It's going to take an hour 13 to charge, which is super quick. I mean, that's fantastic. Then 35 degrees at the moment on the terms of the Delta 2. So that will obviously go up. It is pretty hot today. That is going to definitely increase as it charges. Charging creates heat, but the fans will come on, it'll take care of that. It'll only get so high. Now, one of the nicest things I like here is the reverse charge. Now, the reverse charge allows the power in this to charge your starter battery. So let's say for whatever reason your starter battery's gone flat and you stuck, you didn't have any jumper cables or anything like that, or any boosters to boost the battery, you could just reverse charge this. So plug it in, hit reverse charge, and it's going to charge your starter battery and put enough power in it to get your car started. So just great little features in here. There's a battery maintenance mode, and then obviously you can go charge or not charge. You can turn it off or on as well. So a lot of little things there that you can change. You can also just go into the settings. I'll just show you that there's a start voltage of 13 for my car. Yours might be different, but that's customizable. And then there's again a firmware update that you can do, a firmware update on the Alternator Charger, which is great. So it will then be compatible with all future batteries and future power stations and all kinds of things. So that's really great. Gives a lot more flexibility. You're buying a product and it's not going to go out of date. They can at least update that firmware to accommodate new stuff in the future. As I said, it just makes it way more usable for overlanding now. So jump on their website, have a look at it. They're running some great specials at the moment. Black Fridays are around the corner, and you can really benefit now. Pick up the Delta 2, pick up the Alternator Charger together for a good bundled price. Hell, even look at some solar panels, because that's a great add-on for the bush. If you're going to be parked up for a while, you're not running your car, then the solar panel is going to be the next best option for you for sure. So check it out, and we'll catch up with you in the next review.